Business with a servant's heart. Welcome to the podcast. Business with a servant's heart. Listen to the podcast. We're all about to talk on life. Our guest will share his life story. We want you to success in life. We're ready and we will start shortly. We're gonna talk on life. We're gonna talk on business. You're gonna shine bright. We are gonna witness. Business with a servant's heart. Welcome to the podcast. Business with a servant's heart. Listen to the podcast.
Welcome to Doing Business with a Servant's Heart. I'm your host, Steve Ramona. Every episode is an invitation, a reminder that business and life isn't just about profit, it's about purpose. It's about showing up with a servant's heart in every deal and every decision, every day to make a powerful impact on others. Today's guest is going to light you up. You'll be motivated, you'll be challenged, and most importantly, you're going to walk away with tools that inspire action both in your life and the lives of others. Audience, here's your homework. How will you serve yourself and others today? Doesn't have to be a big impact. Even a small act of kindness or courage can change the game. So lean in, take notes. Shout out to my two sponsors, A Mind for All Seasons. Your brain is your greatest competitive edge, and it deserves to perform like one. Want to think faster, remember more, and stay focused longer? Just text the word optimize to 72000. Optimize to 72000 and get instant access to 6 short, powerful videos, each just 3 to 5 minutes, that reveals simple strategies to unlock peak mental performance. Because when your brain is clear, your business grows. And the Epic Impact, the storytelling system that helps your message connect and convert, it's just 4 steps. Engage, persuade, inspire, close with clarity. I use it every day for all my messages. Try it free at epicimpact.ai with code STEVE. Change your messages, change your results. Excited to announce Doing Business with a Servant's Heart podcast was named top 6 in small business marketing. Thank you all of you, my guests and my audience. You've impacted so many people. Let's continue doing that. Welcome to Doing Business with a Servant's Heart podcast. I'm your host, Steve Ramona. Do you run a business? Do you own a business? You're an entrepreneur? Are your systems working? Do you even know what you're doing? A lot of times we don't. My guest today is going to bring a full servant's heart because he's going to give you so many resources. So grab your pencil and paper and let's start taking notes. Justin, welcome to the podcast.
Hi, Steve. Thanks for having me. I'm excited to be here.
You told me a story in the green room about taking 12 years, which I love, with family and kids, driving to school. Tell us that story and what you found out after 12 years.
Yeah, it was, I'm so lucky. I mean, God's grace has filled my life and immeasurably and continues to this very day. I had the opportunity after several years in building a business and having some success and then some prior trials and things that I'd gone through. But I was able to really kind of hit the metaphorical eject button, and I left northern Utah, where I was and previously had a team of 98 employees, doing quite a bit of business and a lot of busyness and traveling a lot all over the world to kind of facilitate deal making and things. And it was a fun and exciting life, but I just had my 4th child, and he was just a baby. And I thought, there's been time. My 3rd child, I almost missed the birth because I was in LA. He came a little early and I was on a meeting, and my wife calls at night and there was no flights. And I said, just wait, breathe, take a bath, do whatever. Like, I don't know, whatever you're supposed to do to just wait. And I could get home the next morning, and I raced home and I got the first flight out and I got home just in time to make it and took her to the hospital and had my 3rd child. So with that still kind of in my mind, like I could have missed it, and for what, So I moved to New England, actually, to the woods, kind of the most opposite place from the high desert of Utah that I could find in America, and went there where there's trees and moose and bears and all kinds of stuff. And I spent 12 years there. I drove the kids to school and home from school every single day of those 12 years. Participated in every Little League game and and I was the DJ for Little League games. I'd play music and the walk-up songs, and it was just so cool that I had that opportunity. And people just wondered, like, why does your dad never work? Why does he doesn't do anything? Um, that's how I'd hear that from the kids and some of their friends. And it was such a good opportunity. But what I mentioned to you earlier today, as we were just chatting before the show, is what happened in that period of time is I wasn't serving outside of my family. I wasn't really adding value to the world. And my mindset began to shift. And I read this cool book just in the last 2 years called, it was from Napoleon Hill. And the name might have escaped me, but it was just published. And he wrote this book years, I mean, he's been dead for decades, right? He wrote this book years and years ago.
Was it 12, excuse me, 12 Miracles of Life?
No, no,
Okay.
it was, let's see, I can't remember what it was. It's like, he talks about drifting, and it's this experience. In the
Yes.
book, his wife says that she wouldn't allow him to publish the book while they were alive because it was going to just give him too much backlash, you know? So that book really just opened my eyes to this concept of drifting, was what she was talking about that he was doing. It's called Outwitting the Devil. That's it. Outwitting the Devil.
That's a
And
great book.
have you read it? It's phenomenal,
Yes.
right? I read it and then I started over again. I started from the beginning. As soon as I ended it, I'm like, oh my gosh. I think I literally did. And I read it again. And I've read it 2 times since then. And I picked it up for the first time 2.5 years ago. But that's what had happened to me in the woods that I realized, Steve. I realized that while there, it was a great time with my family, but I wasn't making the connections. I wasn't facilitating new relationships. I had a little group of friends and things, but I really began to drift. And my mindset, really, it snuck up on me. I didn't realize that I began to be a lot less abundant in my mindset. And instead of how can I serve, I was more of we better be careful. And I don't like that. That's not my constitution. That's not how I am. And so it was really creating this, like, it kind of took me to a dark place. And my wife and I were kind of having some troubles through this time too, because, if a person isn't whole and healthy, then they're going to have problems in all kinds of areas. And thank the good Lord, I was able to see some signs and was given some kicks in the butt to motivate me and help me to see that. And I've been just kind of like resetting for the last couple of years and really getting serious about what can I do to contribute. And that 12 years in the woods, I wouldn't trade. But if I could do it again, I would have maintained some, I would have been more active in what could I do for others to keep that edge instead of dipping more than I realized. And now I had to climb back out of that little ravine. And it's way easier to stay flat than climb up and down out of ravines,
Yeah. No, and that's cool because what you're saying is you would still connect and serve others, not to the capacity when you had 90 employees, but
Mhm.
at least doing something. Maybe it's 2 hours a week instead of 80 hours a week or whatever
Yeah.
that looks like. That's a great lesson. So thank you. That's why I wanted you to share it. The other thing you told me, which is not a goal, to me, this is a mission. You want to help 50,000 entrepreneurs. You rocked my world when you said that today, because that's exactly how I feel.
Okay.
Tell us about this mission.
Yeah. Thanks for giving me the opportunity to.
Yeah.
So during those years in the woods, I had some friends that would call and ask for a little bit of help with their business and this and that, and I would help. And then that turned into some coaching. And I'm like, okay, I can do coaching, and it doesn't take a ton of time, and I can have an impact and really make a change. There's a little revenue stream. It was cool. But in the last couple of years after this realization, and really after reading that book, I realized I'm not doing what I know I'm capable of doing, and I'm not doing what I feel to be that I've been called to be contributing. And so the one-on-ones, while impactful, I knew that, I'm talking like 6, 8, 12 clients a year. That's not, I mean, it's great for them, but it's that I would see people that were still struggling or that went through a problem or lost a bunch of money or had a big IRS problem and they dealt with. And I'm like, oh, if I could have just talked to you for an hour, if I could have just an hour. And then I had thoughts like that. And then I would talk to friends about their situation for an hour and they'd come back and say, oh my gosh, you saved me this, or I just changed this. And I thought, I have got to stop being silly. So I began to formulate this idea that I need to come up with something to impact more people, to at least share my story so more people know about it and not be selfish and just hold it inside and be so private. I kept getting these little signals like you should get on social media. And that was kind of this message that kept coming. I'm like, nah, no, no, I'll figure it out a different way. No, I'll figure it out a different way. So finally, I'm like, okay, I got it. I will. I'll do it. And I set up an Instagram account for the first time in 2024, and I started recording myself talking, and I was terrified. I mean, they were they're still there. You can go look at them at It's Justin Lund on Instagram. Scroll to the bottom, and you'll see just how terrible that was. And it's still probably not super great, but I've come a long ways for sure. But I realized that's the only way that I'm going to get enough leverage to impact that many people, because lots of people watch a lot of stuff on social media. So the LinkedIn, the TikToks, the Instagrams, I got on all of them after being off of all of them. And on Instagram, like I never even was on it. I literally never had the app before 2024. And at the end of the year, I was just like, okay, I'm going to go all in. And then I started to kind of formulate this idea like 50,000. I don't know where the number came from, honestly. It's just like, that's a good, solid number that I want to help entrepreneurs and startups, whether you're 21 and just starting this new idea, I've been there, or you're 61 and you don't have 20 more years to perfect your business to make an exit, been there too. And I have some things to say about that. And I have some playbooks that can guide you through and truly compress time. Like I know that because you can take a year and shrink it down to 2 months, or you could take 5 and put it into 6 months. And that is what I just feel called to try to contribute now.
And I love what you said in that story about you just started with your Instagram. You hadn't done it ever. You're probably 40 years old. So for 20 years, you didn't, you're probably a little old, but you look 40.
I'm a little north of that, but yeah, I'll take
a little
it.
north. There you go. I had a guest on yesterday, Alan. That's why I love podcasting. He said to people, just start. And that's a perfect education on you. Just start it. What's the worst thing going to happen? You stop putting videos out there.
Yeah.
They sucked. People aren't going to say, what an a-hole, you put bad videos out there. They just don't look at it.
Right.
But you've grown from it. And look where you are today.
Man. Yeah, for sure. And that, I was listening to, I saw Dan Martell on a stage, and that's kind of that was the final kick. I talked to him for a few minutes afterwards. This is a couple years ago, and he has just exploded in the last couple of years since I met him initially. And that's one of the things he said to me. He's like, it's the best self-development program you can do. When you talk to your camera, all your shit is going to come up from inside, and you're going to have to deal with it and confront it. And there was a part of me that I was like, I don't want to do that at all. And then there was another part of me that said, if you don't, you're going to start dying today because you know that that's what you got to do. And I was like, okay. And at that moment, I downloaded Instagram right there in that conference room.
Well, and the other thing about dying more so, I look at the more positive or negative, you want to look at it. You couldn't help people. Every video, you're helping people now.
Yep.
Whether it's 1 or 100, impact is not a number, it's impact.
Exactly.
I love where you're going with it. I love Dan Martell too, what you're talking about. And it's funny, I just started doing my solo videos Monday.
Really?
I stayed away from them. I put all you guys, your guests and stuff. Like, you got good stuff.
Congratulations.
So we're well connected, and we've talked about this on the show.
That's great.
Let's talk about the playbook, because you give an audience, this is a servant's heart. This is why he's on here. And he reached out to me out of the blue. We just met today.
Yeah.
He's giving all his stuff away for free, as I always talk about on shows. Give your stuff away for free. Impact people, it will come back. So talk about your playbooks.
Yes, I have a number of things that over the years I've just reduced to writing. And as I've found something, I'll give you a quick example because I love telling stories. So you shut me up if I'm getting too long-winded. But I sat on the board of a company once, and it was a software development company. And I lived on the East Coast, and everybody was on the West Coast. And so I was never there. And I think the rest of the board started to grow a little restless and thinking like, Justin doesn't really contribute. No, we're here all the time. We have these meetings and he phones in once in a while. That's not fair. So they wanted to give me some responsibilities. And one of them was, you need to hire our next, 6 months worth of software developers. I'm like, guys, I don't know anything about software. What? How am I mean, you asked me to be on the board because I can do contracts and logistics and accounting and systems. What am I going to do to talk to a programmer? I don't even like talking to programmers. And they're like, well, that's what we need. And that's what you need to contribute. You need to pull your weight. And I'm like, okay. So I hired somebody. It took me between 60 and 80 hours. It was a lot. I got these applications in. I'm Googling terms like, what does my SQL mean? What does, I'm looking up all this stuff that is totally foreign. And I was like, this is terrible. But we got the guy hired. We hired a guy. 3 months later, he was gone. Went off and worked for somebody else as soon as he was trained. And I was like, all that, I just felt like a punch in the guts, right? It was all that work and it's gone. And then they called and still a little chirpy. They're like, well, we need another one. You gotta get, and maybe another one after that. So get somebody in the queue and be ready. And I'm like, I'm not doing that again. So I started working through a system for how I could leverage a little bit smarter way to hire. And I looked at what went wrong. And this is one of my things, as I like to look at. And I had the time and space in the woods to do that. I was like, if I was going to do this perfectly, how could I do this? And so I spent about an hour and I set up this new process that I was testing, this formulation, this idea that I was formulating. And I knew it was about dinner time. So I'm looking at my clock. I'm like, okay, I'm going to finish this. I'm going to push publish on the job ad. Same kind of an ad. I spruced it up a little bit. This is before ChatGPT made this so much easier, right? Too. So I push publish on the ad. I go downstairs, grab my phone. I walk downstairs. I sit down with the family and I'm having dinner. We'd eat at 5 o'clock. My wife she'd always loved to have dinner right at 5 o'clock. Kids had the schedule. Everybody was in a routine. I'm eating dinner. I grab my phone. I'm about halfway through and I look and it says that I've got like 11 interviews booked for the next Thursday. And I was like, I started laughing out loud at the table and everybody's like, Dad, what are you laughing at? I'm like, and I started telling them that about 3 sentences in, they all don't, I don't care what you're talking. Interviews with them programmers, who cares? But it was phenomenal. And that was 10 years ago. And yeah, almost exactly 10 years ago. And then I've used it 1,000 times since then. And I've tweaked it to where filling a new position, I can turn it into about 1 to 4 hours, depending on if it's a transactional role or a transformational role. There's different things. So there's that, which, hey, if that's a problem you guys are struggling with, just come DM me on Instagram and I'll give you my Google. It's a Google Doc. It's not a fancy, it's a Google Doc. You read it, you follow the steps. I guarantee you'll hire somebody with 10% of the effort and you'll get 2 times better candidates as a result because it flips the script on it. It makes it a competition to get the job instead of hoping somebody's going to show up for their interview. So there's that. I got hundreds of them actually, Steve, and I know that there were things that I learned, most of them through very, very expensive trial and error lessons. And I started documenting them and just realized that there's stuff that we take for granted, like me and my team will take for granted because it's the way we've done it for the last 5 years, 10 years. I'm like, we should write that down. And so we've been doing a good job. I brought in a couple new people on the team that just don't know some of our old processes to help us identify what is a little bit unique or cool. And we just throw it into a Google Doc. We throw that up. So I have so many that if there's things that people are struggling with, or just something that could help them like speed up that learning curve. Like you said, like just jump over to this instead of just climb this giant mountain. And, that's the way to do it.
Well, I'm going to use the coding term. You beta tested it.
That's right.
You probably know what that means now after going
I do now. Yep.
When that's what an audience, this is powerful because he's getting to all the problems. You did all the versions of this hiring playbook where it's, and you'll probably keep, and that's the cool thing about a Google Doc. It's live. If you don't know, audience, as he changes it, you'll see it. Can we put it in the show notes so people can have access to it?
Actually, yeah, just I would have them come over to my Instagram and DM me.
Let's do that.
So, yeah, and then I'll just drop the Google Doc right in there. I don't need your email. I don't need a blood sample. None of that stuff. And I'd like the follow. The only thing that I'm asking is that you follow me on Instagram, and that's it. Because I want, especially if you're a business owner, because I'm trying to get to 50,000, so I need all the help I can get.
And I love it, audience. That's a cheap way of getting multiple millions of dollars of systems.
That's right.
You called them. I got 2 people. I'm going to have them connect with you today.
Perfect.
Profit Prism. I saw that in your notes. Is that a playbook or is it pillars that you've been?
That's a good question. It's more of like a framework, and it too evolves and grows in time. But it's built on. I've more recently been referring to it as the freedom flywheel because there's really 3 key parts. And in my brain, I see it as a visual, like the recycle symbol. It's like a triangle.
Yep.
And it's got 1 arrow going to like all 3 sides. That's what I see that as the profit prism or as a freedom flywheel. And it's systems and delegation and mindset. And those are the 3 components that I see that are critical to cycle through to get from one level to the next. And so here's another development programming term for you, which is agile development, if you guys know what that is. And I didn't, but it's, you don't try to get perfect in your first attempt, because it's that perfection syndrome that keeps you from taking action. You start small, you iterate, you get a proof of concept, you take it out to the market, you sell it. If you can sell it, you've validated your concept, and you come back and you make the next iteration around that circle just a little bit bigger. So the way you would draw that is kind of like a snail, every circle just kind of keeps getting bigger and bigger and bigger on the iterations. And that's what I look at with business. Because I love entrepreneurs. My wife says it this way. She's like, I don't know what's wrong with you. You get up out of bed and you don't have to. There's nobody telling you what to do. There's nobody checking on what you did at the end of the day, but you get up and you go for it as though your life depends on it. And if that was me, this is her word. She says, if that was me, I'd go sit on the couch. Like,
honesty.
Yeah. So I think that entrepreneurs are special in that they really do plow out into the unknown. But I look at it in levels. On this flywheel or prism model, you can go through these levels, and there's 0 to 1.0. And in that level, that requires founders and entrepreneurs to just do everything. I mean, you're wearing the hat to do billing, customer service, sales, delivery, fulfillment. You're bouncing around like a little bit of a crazy person there in the beginning, but you prove your concept, you're doing the work, and you're hustle, you're grinding, you're full of grit and determination. Then you start looking at, hey, could I get to 2.0? That next level begins to, the bad part about it is, because we've got success in 1.0, we tend to think as humans more. So I'm going to do more of that to get to 2.0. And that will literally begin to make you slide backwards down further into 1. You'll go from 1.0 to 0.7, because more doesn't always equal better. And sometimes it equals worse. So when you get to 2.0, you have to start to shift some of the things. So if you go through this process of systems, mindset, and delegation, those are the 3 major pillars that you got to look at as you graduate from one level to the next. And so what I mean by that is, as you get to one point, so you get to 1.0, you're like, okay, I've worn the hats, I've done the hustle. Now, what can I take and what's repeatable that I've been doing? I'm going to start thinking in a systems mindset. I don't need to be good at it. I don't need to be some architect or engineer with systems. I just need to say, like, every day from 8 a.m. to 10:30 a.m., I'm spending in my email inbox again and again and again. Okay, I'm going to be aware of that. And then the systems, then the mindset. Actually, I go into delegation first, because there's a delegation process that I like to follow, which is you start with back office stuff, and then you work your way up into higher level transformational roles. Start with transactional. A lot of people in 1.0, 1.5, 2.0, they think, I just need an operator. I need somebody that's going to come in and solve these problems. And then they go for COO. They go for a general manager. They go for somebody up here on what I call the top of this delegation pyramid. And that's expensive. They have no experience managing people like that. And usually 9 out of 10 times, they last 6 months. They take a bunch of money out of the bank account because they paid such a high salary. The person goes away or they get fired. And now the owner is back worse off than where they started 6 months before. Yeah. So if all that, you can shortcut that by hiring in the right sequence. So anyway, that's the model. That's what I think. Every time you get to a new level, you stop and inspect some of those things and see where can I pull a $10,000 lever and let go of a $10 lever and give that to somebody else. Think about the mindsets I got to let go of. Think about the systems that I need to deploy, and think about the people that I can help delegate that stuff to.
That's brilliant. I asked that question selfishly. I kind of had a feeling what it was. It's way different from what I thought it was.
Yeah? Okay.
In a great way. So thank you for sharing that, because that's audience. This is one of his playbooks. I'm sure it's in the playbook, right?
It is. Yeah.
Yeah.
It is.
So
yep. That's our Founder Freedom Playbook. Yep. And if that's something that resonates with you, again, come find me on Instagram and just type freedom in the DMs to me, and I'll know what you want. I'll send it over. No questions asked.
We'll put that in the show notes so they can reach out.
Perfect.
I'm coming to the end here, sadly, because I'm loving every minute. You're just
I do too. This is great.
You're incredible.
Oh,
What's one tip you give? You got these 50,000 entrepreneurs. Let's say you had them all together. You were doing a Tony Robbins meeting.
Okay. Okay.
And they asked you, what's one tip that would really help me grow as an entrepreneur?
Okay.
I know it's hard.
Yeah, I think the most important thing that I would tell a room that big that I would convey to everyone out there is you can't fill anybody else's bucket if yours is empty. And you can't use that as a license to just be selfish by any means. That's not what it means. It has zero to do with selfishness. It's all to do about self-development. You've got to take care of yourself. You've got to do things. Your system has to be bulletproof and ironclad when it comes to how are you growing? Tell me how you got better today compared to yesterday. And if you keep that in your mind, you'll never get into the trap of drifting. You'll never get into the trap. You may not grow in leaps and bounds exponentially overnight, but you won't go backwards. And you're either going forwards or you're going backwards. Make no mistake about it. And that's why I think that would be my number one tip.
I am going to borrow that. I wrote it down. My notes are everywhere here. I hope I can read them after this. I try to keep up with you, and that's not, it's a good thing. So many nuggets, but I am going to borrow that because that's what I tell when you serve.
Yeah.
And audience, you can share because I love resources to help. But I tell people you got to serve yourself first before you can serve others.
Yeah.
If you're down
100%.
and out, you can't walk. You're not going to think of walking up and helping somebody for free
100%.
Whatever.
100%.
So,
by bringing things into your mind, by taking time to connect to your maker, to get your mind quiet, and I make sure that I read a minimum of 20 or 30 minutes a day in a nonfiction book. Just sometimes I read dumb books, I'll be honest, but it's a different perspective that if I just live in my head, then I start believing all the thoughts that I think, and I am not the thoughts that I think. I'm more than that. And when I bring outside input, it gives me a perspective change and it gives me the opportunity to see things differently. And then I go into my day and, the crap hits the fan like it does in, I'm sure, everybody else's life out there, right? It's no different. But now I have new things to draw upon. And if I didn't do that in the beginning, if I didn't do a little bit of exercise, if I didn't do a little bit of reading, a little bit of contemplation and prayer, meditation, then I'm not going to be able to handle those things that come my way. And I will continue. And this is where people get into these traps, I think, Steve, where you start drinking a beer at 5 o'clock every single day. And then all of a sudden it's 2 beers and then it's a 6-pack. And then because you need more and more and more. And then you wonder why you feel like crap all the time. You know what I mean? And I look, I'm not saying that in judgment. I'm saying it because I've been there. I've done that way too much. I know
we all have fans and we all have crap.
Yep.
But you're out with being human. Fans and crap come with being human.
That's right.
That's the way. We just came up with something really good. And I love that because it can be true. It could be, instead of waking up at 7, I'm going to wake up tomorrow at 9. And then you do 9 the next day. And then it's 9:30.
Yeah.
And you got those 2 hours of work, helping people right now doing that.
Yeah.
Stick to your 7, make it discipline and habits. We're going to bring this guy back, audience.
I'd love to.
We're bringing him back because you're so.
Yeah, we're just getting warmed up, man. We're just getting going.
We are. Yes. So let's end with a fun improv question.
Okay.
So I've got a table at a restaurant reserved for you. I'll sit with you because I want to see who you invite. I want you to invite, or who you'd invite, whether dead or alive, people you've always wanted to talk to, maybe grow with, to fill your bucket with. But more importantly, what food would you order for the table?
Ooh. So is the question the people and the food?
Yes.
Oh boy. Okay. I will tell you, I've had some amazing experiences. Even as a young man, I had this idea that, I guess what I'm getting at is the people that I would have at the table, I've pretty much been at the tables before already. So I would go back to some of the real good ones that I didn't have, that, like Jesus. That would be cool. And some of those that weren't alive, but some of my more recent kind of heroes, if you will, Tony Robbins, for instance. Wayne Dyer was one of them. And I got to tell you, I had this thought that I wanted to do something with Tony Robbins. And then I thought, I'm not making any progress. I tried calling their office, and this is 25, 30 years ago. I was young. I was 19, 21 years old. I would call the office and call. And then I thought, well, if I want to do something with Tony Robbins, I got to be somewhere that Tony Robbins is. And I went to one of his events and I grabbed him and I shook his hand and I told him he bent over because he's gigantic and he's talking to me and I'm trying to hug him and it's like hugging a freaking bull, it's huge. And I said, I've been trying to get a hold of Jim. And I mentioned a few of the people and he's like, he looked at me funny. He goes, Jim will be in the room tomorrow. Just go talk to him. You'll be fine now. And I did. And it's like, I recognize these are people too. And as much as I admire and look up to them, but I still would invite him to dinner. That'd be fun. I'd hang out with him. I did the same thing. Wayne Dyer was one of my heroes, and I loved reading his books. It was like Tony Robbins was all about the inspirational, like go out and kick butt and get things done, and Wayne was more of the spiritual, like stay true to the manifest and a little lighter, a little softer because he was older and he had more life experience. I moved to Hawaii for 9 months, and I moved into the same building. He was my neighbor, and I sat in a hot tub with him almost every night the year before he passed away. And these experiences have happened again and again and again for me to where some of them I'd be able to just call back to dinner, and that would be awesome. And I think I'm very privileged and blessed for that. What I would eat? Do the carbs have to count? I mean, do I have to be healthy? Because
I don't like that phrase. We'll call it cheat day.
Okay. I'd probably go with some Italian food. I love Italian, the pastas and the pizzas and things like that. I eat pretty clean and healthy right now. So those are things when I'm doing a little carb load reset, I like to go that way.
I'm with
Definitely
you.
ice cream. I'd get dessert. I would get 6 desserts, 100%.
One day we're going to go because I'm with you there on the trying to watch what I eat.
I got a playbook for that, by the way.
There we go.
I do.
Playbook.
I literally do. Yep.
This guy's got everything. I love it.
Okay, hang on. I got to tell you this. Last thing, Steve.
Yeah.
Okay. See, this is a Yeti Cool box, right? Mm-hmm. It's right here by my desk. I have a playbook because I wanted to get in shape. And I knew that I tried to do meal prep to get there. And I hated it. And so I did a playbook. I'm like, okay, I got to figure out a better way. There's a girl that she texted me right before the show and I let her into the house through the garage. She's a college kid that wanted to make a little extra money. And I said, here's a playbook on how to do my meals. If you could do meal prep. She's like, yeah, I love that. I love meal prepping and macros and everything. She makes $15 an hour. She comes over for 1 to 2 hours, 3 times a week. I've got 2,150 calories in that box. Exactly. I'll eat it all till it's all the way gone today. And that's exactly what I need do you see what I mean? Like that's leverage. That's compounding. I don't have to think. I don't have to decide. I don't have to work on it. It costs me less than $100 a week to eat. Like,
she's happy. Everybody wins. She's happy.
She's totally happy.
She's doing what she loves.
Exactly.
Oh man, I can't wait for show 2. We got so much to talk about.
Okay. All right.
You're a great guy, and that's why I think great people have been around you and why doors have opened. And it really means you come from your heart. It's going to bring the Dyers and the Robins to you, not being that, a-hole to them or pushy and all that, which you're not. Yeah. I know people listening want to reach out. Again, how can they get you on Instagram to get the playbook and any other?
Yeah, it's it's Justin Lund. And I think that's the same handle across most of I'm on LinkedIn and everywhere else too. So whatever you're on, you can find me there. Same username, Facebook, Instagram, LinkedIn, TikTok. So that's where I'm putting everything out there. And please I'm not sensitive. If there's content you like, I'd love to know. If there's content you think sucks, I'd love to know that too, to be completely honest. I want to get better at getting a message out there that has some benefit and some use to entrepreneurs to help them shave just a little bit of the learning curve off. Or you want
to fill your bucket, and that's exactly what you're doing.
Exactly.
Constructive criticism fills your bucket.
That's
so
right.
I'm going to do something you probably maybe you've heard on a podcast. I'm going to do something special. So audience, the first 3 people that DM them on Instagram, you have to do it on Instagram, and you say you mentioned a podcast, I will send you all a book. It's one of my favorite books I'm going to share with Justin after the show. That's actually made me $1 million this year.
Awesome.
So I want to dive into your 50K. I want to help you get there. I'm going to be a partner in that. So
bless you, Steve.
You got to mention my name. You say Steve Ramona. Don't say Tony Robbins, and say my name or the podcast name. Look it up if you have to. You just do business with Servant's Heart.
Very good.
But I would love to do that because
It's me in the DMs. It's all me. So if you say it, I'll be messaging you back, and I'm gonna let Steve know. And that is the first time that's ever happened to me. So Steve, thank you. That was a truly gentleman, awesome thing for you to offer.
God bless. I'm more than happy to do that. And audience, subscribe to the YouTube channel. Here's why. This show was a gift.
Yep.
Why was it a gift? Well, you're talking to people every day and you hear somebody say, I need help. I need help with my systems. I'm struggling. Well, you can join his group, reach out and join his group, or send him this link and let him listen to him for 15 minutes. I'm fired up right now. You can hear my voice. Do you think they'd be fired up? And if they're not, that's okay. But that's truly a gift of filling somebody else's bucket because your bucket was just filled. So go ahead and do that. And any other podcast, doesn't have to be mine. There's millions of podcasts out there. If you resonate with one, you hear it, send it to me and Justin. We'll take it if it's going to help us. So with that being said, me and Justin want to thank all of you for watching or listening to this podcast. And we'll see you all in the next episode of Doing Business with a Servant's Heart. Have a great day, everyone.
Thank you.